in those formative college years of my life, I was struck by a book written by an author named Robert Short. The book was entitled A Time to Be Born and a Time to Die. It was a book that used a lot of photographs and put those with the words of Hebrew wisdom literature from the book of Ecclesiastes. It's the third chapter of Ecclesiastes where those words were most poignant for me. And those words are this: for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Seasons. I'm sitting out here in beautiful morning breeze and sunshine. We've had an early June, which has felt more like late July and August with temperatures, but seasons. Sometimes we love them, sometimes we hate them. But the reality is, at times, we want everything to speed along, or we want everything to be the same. And we want consistency. And yet, do we really? Isn't there something good about the seasons, about the changes in our lives, about the times that we have to reflect? Although at times I don't know if we take a lot of time to reflect. Around that same time that Robert Short's book was being published, a group called Chicago Transit Authority, or known later as Chicago, had one of their first hits, which was entitled, Does Anybody Know What Time It Is? And part of the lyrics say, as I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked the time that was on my watch. And I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why we've all got time enough to cry. And the chorus goes on with that same, does anybody really know what time it is? And the last line changes from, we've all got time enough to cry, to we've all got time enough to die. So what do we do with our life? For me, that's an ongoing question. There are days when I just want everything to be stable, nice, consistent, and yet I enjoy the seasons and the change, and yet at times I want to control the change, and I can't, and I get frustrated. Sometimes we think we need to be making progress, that time marches on and we get better or we grow toward more perfection. And yet we see in our culture ways we keep reverting. This happens to be Juneteenth. It's the 18th of June when I'm taping this, and it's the first federally recognized celebration or marking of Juneteenth holiday, when the slaves, those in Texas in particular, finally got word that they were emancipated. It's taken this long to recognize that maybe independence isn't always independence, and we look at our culture as well. and realize that there are people who want to limit independence in a variety of forms, whether that be political independence, voting, lifestyle independence. Does anybody really know what time it is? Maybe it's time to live. Yes, to contemplate, to make choices, but instead of being in this hectic pace to get everything done and to somehow think we're becoming better and better, to live, to reflect, to know there's a season for everything, and to find the beauty in every season. It's not easy, but I believe, on my good days, that that's the way to find some serenity and meaning, to embrace what is, because we've got time. Time to look at, to ponder, to connect, to live life. I invite you to do the same. Thank you for watching.